Oh, sorry, coffee break. Put that down. Hi, I'm Kevin Toffel, and thank you for joining us with another JK on the Run Mobile Media Edition. We've got the same great look, but a brand new name. Same old good stuff, though. So today, we are going to talk about the Fujitsu Stylistic ST5112 Slate Tablet PC. And what I'm going to do real quick is unplug it. And I'll tell you why in a couple minutes. I'm going to start with the end of the review first and tell you right up front that if you're a heavy-duty inker and you've got the money to spend, because this bad boy is configured, is about $2,650, $2,650. But if you've got the money and you're an inker, this is a slate worth looking at. You'd be hard-pressed to pass it up. And I hate to start with the beginning first, because really now you can just say, click, buy. But I think it's really worth noting. That's how strongly I feel about this device. And before we even go any further, we should thank the good folks at Allegiance Technology Partners at alltp.com for loaning us this unit for a couple weeks, actually, and I'll be giving this back to them right after the Christmas holiday. Hate to let it go, but it's got to go back. So let's talk about, or give you a tour of the device. What I'm going to start with real quick is I'm going to grab the pen out of the pen holder. Let me just show you real quick that that pen fits in there like so. Fits in there very nicely, nice and snug. I like, and I said this in my initial impressions, I like the fact that this pen just can be tethered right here to the unit. It doesn't have a full clip for a pocket. This shirt is a little too hip for pockets. Barb bought it for me. I don't know what to tell you there. But the point being, on my last stylus, the Toshiba M205, I can't find it, that little clip broke off. Well, with the Fujitsu, it doesn't have it. It doesn't have it. It just has the place to tether, which I'm not a big tethering fan, but still, you can just tether this pen right here. I should also point out, since we're talking about the pen, you've got an eraser here. Obviously, you've got your tip, and you've got two buttons. One is for right-clicking, and one duplicates the eraser function. If I had to pick a nitpick on this, I would say I don't like the fact that this button and this eraser are basically the same thing, and here's why. You can't turn just this button off and still have this eraser to use. I've looked into the settings, and unfortunately it can't be done. I'm not a big pen button pusher, so I actually got rid of the right click. I'd rather just tap and hold. So, alright, let's get back to the device itself. And it's got a gorgeous 12.1 inch screen. This has an active digitizer, so I'm not touching the screen right now, and you might be able to see the cursor moving. This is an XGA resolution, 1024 by 768. I can output all the way up to 1600 by 1200 to an external monitor, and I will show you that because we did receive a question about that at JK on the Run. So let's start with the front face of it if we can. I'll give you a quick tour. Here's our power button, which I also have set up to put the unit into sleep mode. Standard for any tablet PC that you can have that setting. We have our display lights here that show power, battery life, and hard drive and security settings. We also have, you'll notice right here, is a fingerprint reader. You have one speaker right here, and I'm a little, I don't want to say disappointed, because this is probably more of a business class machine than, say, a consumer class machine. But just the one little speaker sounds a little tinny, and you know, a headset or any other speakers that you could attach to this would probably be better. So it's not all that bad. It's usable. We also have one microphone input here. I'm going to jump across the screen and say we've got another one over here. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in detail later. You've got an IR port right here. Basically everything here underneath this face is where the battery is. We'll talk about that. Got some hardware buttons here. Two of the hardware buttons are for scrolling up and scrolling down. The other two are for page up and page down. You can also use those in conjunction with the function button, which we'll talk about, to navigate left, right, and tab, which is pretty handy. Got another IR port right here. Fantastic. We already talked about the other piece of the array microphone. Here's the 6 hardware buttons, and these are fantastic. You've got a function button, an enter button, you've got your escape button, screen rotation, a dedicated email, and dedicated Control-Alt-Delete. If I press the function button and the email button, it actually uses, it opens up Internet Explorer or whatever browser that you have set as your default. Using function and these buttons, there's many combinations of things you can do, like output to an external display, etc. You can also use these buttons to set up a unique password to log into the machine, which is, I find, pretty interesting. I did not use that function, but I did think that was worth mentioning. Let me just bring the screen back for a second. You can see it didn't go into sleep or anything. Alright, that's the front face of it. And while we're talking about the front face, let's talk about the angles. May not be very clear. In fact, it's probably not going to be clear. It's very hard to show you the display angle. That's actually not a bad shot right there. It's probably better if I hide my face. The viewing angle on this is probably around 160 degrees. And I'm just going to kind of give you the walk around. You can see some glare there. Let's do the same here. I don't have anything that you can read on the screen right now, but you get the idea that this is a wide viewing angle screen. As far as the view anywhere, it's not very sunny right now. At the end of the video, what I will do is actually cut into tomorrow. It'll be seamless to you, it'll be 24 hours for me, and we'll show you this in direct sunlight because it does work very, very well. It is the true indoor-outdoor screen display. So, alright, let's take a look at the top. And I'll have to kind of go sideways here so I can see what I'm talking about. We already talked about the pen holder right there. Here we have a PC card slot. Very important for folks who have EVDO and HSDPA cards, things like that. There's a blank in there right now. I'm not going to take that out. Here we have, now this is interesting actually, we have an SD and memory card reader. Additionally though, this is also a third IR port. Really surprising to me because just a few weeks ago we were talking about, is there really a need for IR anymore? Can we save some room and take the IR out of PDAs and keyboards and things like that? You know what? For what I would consider a business class device, you've got 3 IR ports. We already talked about the one on the left, the one on the right, and now you've got one up here. And what that does is, that gives you, in various rotations and permutations, you've got everything in portrait, you've got IR ports left and right. You want to go landscape, you've got an IR port at the bottom, and now another one at the right, and one at the top if you've got a keyboard up there somewhere. But you get my point. You've got a lot of flexibility with this in terms of the infrared. Lastly, over here we just have the fan vent. I like the placement of this. This is smart design because as I'm holding this and using it, the fan is blowing hot air up and away. And if I'm in landscape mode, again, my hands are probably not going to be up here at the top right, covering up that fan. They'll be down in the middle or the bottom. Very good design. Alright, let's cover the left side. We've already talked about the fingerprint reader at the top here. We've got 2 USB ports, and those are USB 2.0. We've got a headset jack as well as a microphone jack. We have a FireWire or IEEE 1394 hidden underneath here. Let's open this up. We have VGA out. I'll show you that in a few minutes. We have our wired Ethernet, modem jack, lock, and input, DC power. Okay, I think that's everything there. On the bottom there's actually nothing because that's where the battery is, and I'll show you that. Let's go to the right side of the device. So you can see, right side. Absolutely nothing here either, other than that infrared port. Okay. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to bring the machine back, kind of wake it up, so to speak, and I'm actually going to put it in sleep mode for a second. I'm going to do this for 2 reasons. One, so I can show you how quickly it goes into sleep mode, and also resumes. Wait for the beep. There's the beep. Okay, we're in sleep mode now. I wanted to do this because inside the unit is what they call a bridge battery. That bridge battery will let this machine stay in standby for up to 5 minutes. That means you can do what they call a, let's say, a warm swap. Maybe not hot swap, but let's take the battery out for a second. In fact, we'll take it out for a couple minutes just to show you what it's like. And that unit is now being powered by the bridge battery for, again, up to 5 minutes. I'm going to kind of talk quick here. This battery is probably the heaviest piece of equipment that we have in the unit. It's a 10.8 volt, 5200 milliamps, 6-cell battery. On this battery, Fujitsu says it's rated for 6 hours of use. In my own personal use, I have not exceeded 5. However, that's really not bad. If you think about it, if you're judicious, put your unit into sleep or hibernate as needed throughout the day, you can probably get through a full day on the standard 6-cell battery. Fujitsu does offer a 9-cell battery, which I believe they rate at 9 hours. So I'm going to guess real world, that's probably 7.5 to 8. So I'm going to put the battery back, just so we can prove the whole warm swap theory. Slide that back in and lock it. Now, again, we had no external power. Let's give it a shot and hope that it worked. And there we go, we're back in business. Hey, while we're here, you can see that I've got it set up right down here to log on using the fingerprint reader. Here's the sensor up here. Oops, red is bad. Let's try that again. There we go, we're back. So if you had a spare battery, you could see the use of that bridge battery inside if you're charging up a second battery or like that. The reason that I unplugged this, or I should say another reason that I unplugged this unit right when we started, was the battery was fully charged at that point. I've installed Notebook Hardware Control, which is one of my favorite free programs to monitor the battery life. Don't know if you'll be able to see it, but right down in here, Notebook Hardware Control is showing 4 hours and 49 minutes left on that battery. I bet if I bring that up, perhaps we can see that a little bit better. There we go. Hopefully that's readable to you. And it says 4 hours 33 minutes right now. I wanted to show you the battery drain as I did this video, just to give you a feel for things. Now I've got the screen brightness at full. I have the Wi-Fi on. We will close that. Alright, one thing I didn't talk about, and I should have, let's put the pen back for a second, was the back of this. This is really unique. It might be hard for you to see, but it's micro-sueded in certain points. And I originally thought that was strictly to help you hold it, and it does. However, after reading the manual, yes, I did read the manual this time, I found out that these are thermal micro-suede applications, and they are to help reduce the heat that goes to your hand from the unit after prolonged use. It's kind of interesting. And this side that is not micro-sueded right here definitely does feel a little bit warmer than the micro-sueded. It's kind of a downside for a lefty, and I'm a righty. Anywhere I need to hold this, it's micro-sueded, but as a lefty, if I was holding it here, you can see there that it's not micro-sueded. It's unfortunate. We don't have tablet PCs that come in left-handed or right-handed models. There's just no way around this, unfortunately. A little bit more about the back. You can see we've got our docking port right back here, and there are little clampy type spots right here for a dock. Let's talk about the dock. I don't have one with this unit. It did not come with one. I would say, for me, I would not purchase this for myself without having some type of stand or dock. Here's why. If you get tired of inking, and that could well be if you've been using this all day, it's about 3.5 pounds. You get tired of inking, you need to put this thing down, and say you want to use, think outside, Bluetooth keyboard. Well, the Bluetooth works perfectly fine. I've paired these devices, no problem. Where do I put this? I can put it flat, and that's not very ergonomic. There's no built-in stand, unfortunately, unlike our UMPCs. Some of them have built-in stands. Everybody recognizes Sammy. So again, I would personally recommend having some type of stand or dock. Fujitsu sells both, and and using that. It's just, unless you're going to ink all the time and never ever use a keyboard, I can't see how you can get away without it. So, while I have Sammy here making a cameo, let me just show you in terms of size what the difference is. I'm going to stand up for a second. It's kind of difficult for me to see this, but hopefully this is on camera. You've got your 7-inch touchscreen here with Sammy, and you've got your 12.1-inch active digitizer, not passive, right here. Let's take a look at thickness for a second. There, now I can see. Generally they're the same thickness. You'd swear that if you didn't know this was a tablet PC, you'd think it was an LCD monitor. It's really that thin. It's not quite an inch thick, probably about 3/4 of an inch thick. So it's all screen, and somehow they've tucked everything inside. Put Sammy down for a second. All right. Well, let's actually use this a little bit, because really the specs are what set this apart from any other slate that I know of today. And let's go through the specs. You'll notice that it says that it's Windows Vista capable, and it is. How do I know? Stay tuned and you'll find out. I've already mentioned it's got an Intel Core Duo processor. It runs at 1.2 gigahertz. Inside this unit, in fact, right in here, are 2 DIMM slots for memory. One of them is in use for this machine right now, and it has a 1 gigabyte DIMM module in it. You can put up to 2 gig modules in each slot, so theoretically you can go up to 4 gig on this machine. This model right now has 1 gig. As far as graphics, it has the integrated Intel graphics. It's the Intel 945 chipset, and as I've mentioned, it runs natively at 1024 by 768, and we could externally go all the way to 1200 by 1600 or 1600 by 1200. You get the picture. The Intel graphics have shared memory. I believe it's 128 meg on this. It may share more to get you up into that 256 meg area. I'm not sure on that one exactly. But I found it to be quite usable in terms of graphics. Very responsive. 80 gig hard drive. And that is a 5400 RPM hard drive, so it's not as slow as the 42s, not quite as fast as the 72s. I think that's a good compromise, because really what you want is, you want power and performance, but you don't want to sacrifice too much battery life, and I really think that sums up this slate. So, let's do this. What shall we do? What shall we do? I have, you know what, let's use some of those buttons I was talking about. I have used or installed Office 2007 on this. And if I click my email button, what should happen is Outlook 2007 will appear. I should mention I've used I've registered my fingers on the fingerprint sensor along with several passwords. When I use the fingerprint sensor on websites, never a problem. Occasionally, with this, because I do have it set up for Outlook, occasionally it doesn't work. Let's see if it does.
Access granted.
Now it says access granted, which means yes, it read my fingerprint correctly. However, when it's typing in the remembered keystrokes for my password, something isn't quite right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cancel the password authentication through the fingerprint sensor, and I'm going to ink my password. Sorry you can't see that. And it'll take a second or two. We're not actually going to read any emails, but remember, I connect to an Exchange server, so although I have a local PST folder, what will happen is Outlook will attempt to connect to that Exchange folder. And that's what it's doing right now, connected to Exchange, waiting to update this folder. While it's doing that, let's see if I can just click New. Zoom in a little bit here for you. And we can just ink hello, this tablet rocks. Close our ink tools And there we go. We could send that to whomever we'd like. I'm not going to send it though. No, I don't want to save changes. Okay. For those of you who haven't seen Outlook 2007, it's nice how you can have these toolbars pop in, pop out. That's your navigation. There's a to-do bar over here. Very nice. Okay. Let's use those hardware buttons and launch the internet. Zoom out for a second. Remember, if I use that function button and then use the email button, it actually opens up Internet Explorer for me. Notice I didn't press function and email at the same time. I could have done that. However, the function key is sticky, meaning if you press the function button, you have another 2 seconds to press another button, and that would simulate function and that button. So, there we go. Looks pretty nice in our portrait mode. Here's what I'm going to do just to show you the screen rotation and show you how quickly it does that. There it is. Oh, I hit the email button by accident there. My apologies. Cancel and close. Kind of juggling here. Alright. Remember I mentioned those scroll buttons before? And page down, page down, page down, page up, page up, page up. Very nice. Let's go back. I actually prefer portrait mode. And we're back. And now my page down is even bigger. You'll notice that it went back to portrait. It didn't rotate completely upside down. And that's because in the tablet PC settings, I have it only to go to those two orientations. I could have it go all 360 if I wanted to. It's just personal preference. It does work. Okay. Let's do, you know what? Let's go back for a second. Let's go back to the internet because I do want to demonstrate that the fingerprint sensor does work. And it should work if I go to Yahoo, where I had registered my fingerprint earlier today. And boy, I really want to just keep doing this. I'm so used to Sammy. It's such a challenge not to do that. I'm going to tap sign in. What you should see is down here, it's waiting for the fingerprint. I didn't quite do it right.
Access granted.
Thank you. And I'm now signed in. Hi, Kevin C. So that does work. It's just Outlook for some reason, and chances are it was me that goofed it up. Alright. Somebody had asked about can you output to an external monitor. I know I mentioned I was going to show that, so I'm going to do that to the monitor right here. I happen to have the VGA cable right there, and if you'll bear with me 1 second, I'm just going to connect it. This could be tricky just based on the angle of the camera and everything else, but you can see I got it there. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit for you guys. Okay. What I'm going to do is use the function and the rotation button, and that's going to actually output to the monitor behind. What it's going to do first is, actually the first mode is not display anything on the tablet, but only display it here on the external. And if you bear with me, again, I will do the screen rotation, and there it is. Now, this is kind of tricky because you can't really see what you're doing here. So, mode number 2, if I do the same function and screen rotation button, now we've got the same display on both. Let me zoom out, actually. And this is perfect for presentations because I can sit here and just do what I need to here, and it will appear here as well. It's very difficult when you can't see what you're doing here on the tablet. So, in terms of, somebody had asked, how awkward is it? Well, I think it all depends on how long your VGA cable is, and do you prefer to use your stylistic in portrait or landscape? It's going to be right at the top in landscape or to the side in portrait. So. Alright, let's go back to our regular mode. I will undo the VGA. Bear with me. Close that up. Okay. A couple other things that I didn't get a chance to talk about yet as I rotate back. Connectivity. We've already mentioned there's a PC card slot if you have EVDO or HSDPA or some other 3G connectivity in a PC card. But what you do have inside is 802.11a, B, and G. And I really like that because I do have an A router as well as a BG router here at the house. The reason I do that is I like to separate certain things on my network. When I'm streaming video, I tend to use my A router because it's a different frequency that's least likely to interfere with the neighbors who all have B and G routers. So I have this set up for 802.11a right now, and as you've already seen, we've gone to the web. It's very quick, etc. Also has Bluetooth built in this particular model. And I should mention that the Bluetooth drivers were not installed by default. However, you are provided with a Bluetooth driver CD. It was a quick and painless installation to just install the Bluetooth stack and some Fujitsu software to manage your radio, no issue. And once I had that installed, I was able to pair up the Think Outside keyboard with no problems. Very, very simple to do. Alright, what else can we talk about? Let's talk about those array microphones because the Stylistic comes with software. I'm going over to Control Panel real quick. It comes with software called IntelliSonic Speech Enhancement Control. I'm going to go there and see if I can show you what that's all about. What that's all about is the Fujitsu uses these two microphones to create an array. What the array does is it will follow you as you move around, if you move around. It will also focus on you if there's noise to your left, to your right, etc. So it reduces that background noise. You can actually set that where to look in a sense. Like as you can see right here, it's saying, okay, if you're sitting right in front, that's really where I'm listening. I'm not listening to these two people on the side. I don't actually see the people, but whatever. Anyway, you can change the range of that to narrow it or widen it, or you can say conference mode. Everybody gets to talk. I'm going to get rid of conference mode, and I'm going to set it to the default. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make a Skype call to the happy lady who mans the phone number at Echo 123. The reason I'm doing that is so that you can hear what it sounds like through the external. Try and get a little closer here. We'll launch Skype. And it should automatically log in as me. No, it didn't because I didn't tell it to. So I'm going to log in real quick. Whoops. That's not right. Yeah, I should have set it up. I was too busy drinking coffee. Signing in. Okay. I'm going to turn the volume up just a tad to make sure that you can hear this. If it's too loud, I apologize. I'd rather have it too loud than have it so that you couldn't hear it. And we will call the happy British lady at Echo 123. And I'm doing that with the pen.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Skype call testing service.
Thank you.
After the beep, please record a message of up to 10 seconds. Afterwards, your message will be played back to you.
Hello, I'm also testing Skype. Unfortunately, you seem to say the same thing every time. It's really scary. I hope they pay you well. Thank you.
Hello, I'm also testing Skype. Unfortunately, you seem to say the same thing every time. It's really scary. I hope they pay you well. Thank you.
If you are able to hear your own...
There you go. I think the array microphone works really well. There's a tuning wizard. You could definitely use this unit on Skype without a headset. I can't say I've tested it extensively, however, so I don't think I would want to, say, record a podcast with it. I would want to use a USB headset with a digital signal processor, etc. But it's very usable, very usable. All right, a couple other things. Let's talk software real quick, because there's some nice touches here. Some of the pre-installed software that comes with this. I have a couple discs here, like recovery discs. Talk about those in a few minutes. The unit actually comes with Microsoft OneNote 2003 pre-installed, plus you do have a CD to reinstall it if you need to. That's fantastic. If you're not a OneNote fan, that's not a problem because, as previously announced a couple weeks ago, Evernote is included as well. So if you wanted to use Evernote in lieu of Microsoft OneNote, you could do that. I am not a fan of Evernote only because I'm so used to OneNote. It's a good application. I have tried it, but I did not install it. So it's going to try and install it now. I'm going to cancel that. Yes, I want to quit. I will bring up Microsoft OneNote very briefly, even though I'm sure you've all seen it. Office. OneNote. I've never navigated this way. Kind of getting a crick in my arm. Oh yes, I did use this. I wrote about the screen is gorgeous, readable even in sunlight, 1024 by 760 is acceptable. A higher resolution would be my personal preference. And these are my personal notes, I probably shouldn't read these. Plenty of ports, plus the PC card slot, and the dock is a must-have for me due to the size. So, anyway, OneNote is included. We will close that. What's also included is Google Desktop, which I thought was kind of interesting. I'm not a user of Google Desktop, but it is there. The Microsoft Experience Pack for Tablet PC. Now that's a free download for anybody, but I find it very smart of Fujitsu to include it already pre-installed. That's giving you the ink art, ink crossword, ink desktop, media transfer, and my fave, snipping tool. There you go. In fact, that actually leads me to another reader question. Is the tablet pressure sensitive in terms of the pen? Well, easiest way to find that out is to go to ink art. Here we have, let's go to a brush, and I'm going to lightly brush here, and then I'm going to heavily brush here. You can see the wider marks where I pressed heavily. Yes, this is pressure sensitive. Let's do the same with crayons. Very light, you may not even be able to see it. Then if I wanted to go hog wild and press real hard, I can do that as well. Great little program, ink art. And remember, you can get that for free at Microsoft's site as well. Alright, what else comes pre-installed? Have I covered everything? Oh, tablet, yes. A couple things that I've installed. Of course, because it's a tablet, you already get sticky notes, tablet PC tutorials, which I recommend, and Windows Journal. You know, something it doesn't come with, but you can get yourself, is the New York Times Reader. I know I've highlighted that before on the Samsung Q1 and other machines, but I wanted to show it to you here because it's a bigger screen. Gives you that newspaper look and feel because of the size. While it's coming up, I'm going to steal some coffee. There we go. Let's maximize that. Can't see if I'm actually tapping it or not. Am I tapping it? There we go. Let's go to home. There we go. Very much like a book-sized application, which is nice. We can just tap on the screen, get our story, and hey, looky looky, we can even use those hardware buttons to go back and forth. Very nice. I could read on this all day, no doubt about it. And I'm a big digital book and magazine reader. Now, I don't know where we're at time-wise on this video. I'm going to check that right now. Wow, already over half an hour. So I'm going to have to start wrapping it up pretty soon. Notebook hardware control shows 4 hours and 25 minutes. Don't know if you can read that or not, but I promise 4 hours, 28 minutes right now. Again, just to give you an idea of the battery life. Alright, let's see. Remember I said this is Windows Vista capable? How do I know? Let's find out. We're going to do a start. Turn off the computer. Actually, we'll do a restart. And I'm going to tell you that I used Norton Partition Magic, created a second partition on the 80 gig drive, and then put Vista on to that second partition. So you're going to see in a minute we have a dual boot option here. While this is shutting down and starting back up again, I want to mention there's a shock sensor on the hard drive here. I actually found it to be semi-annoying at first, but that was until I found out you can adjust the sensitivity of that. You might have heard little random pops every once in a while with a balloon pop up here. That was the shock sensor saying, oh, I detect some movement here. I am retracting the heads on the hard drive. Okay, now I'm putting them back. Again, until I realized you could configure it, I just found it completely annoying. So, here's our screen, getting ready to boot. Whoops, I hit boot menu by accident. Oh, that was bad. Let's go down to 2, which is our disk drive. Enter. My bad. Alright, I have an earlier version of Windows, and I have Windows Vista. I'm going to go to Windows Vista. I'm going to hit the Enter button here on the hardware buttons. You'll get a feel for how quickly Vista does or doesn't start. And we'll give you a very quick tour. I don't want to spend too much time because I've already taken up enough of your time. And my coffee's getting cold. So. Do-do-do, do-do-do, do-do-do. 3.5 pounds. It would be tough for me to hold all day. Again, that's why I would want to stand. But then again, I'm kind of small. I'm 5'6". You know, I don't bench press 200 pounds. So that's just me. Now, a couple things right off the bat. There are some devices that don't have updated drivers in Vista, the sound being one of them. I have not really spent a lot of time trying to get the sound working or get the fingerprint sensor working. There would be no point, quite honestly. We'll have to wait for drivers for those. And, you know, the fact that it's got this Vista capable sticker on it tells me that Fujitsu is committed to making sure we get drivers that are updated. Remember, it's Christmas time, so 35 days yet before Vista is technically released to consumers. We've got to give these folks time. Alright, we've got Aero Glass by default. Kind of hard to see, but we do have Aero Glass. Let's show more details here. We've got a Windows Experience Index of 2. Let me see if I can bring this right here so you can read it. You can see it's a 2 for Aero performance, and what else is it? Processor is 4.2, memory is 4.3, graphics for Aero is 2.0, gaming graphics 2.9, primary hard disk 4.4. What does all that mean? Not too much really, other than the fact that it runs Aero Glass, it runs Vista well. It also gives you something to compare against when you get Vista on your machine, so you can get a feel spec-wise. So, it is plenty fast enough for Vista. Let's go to the Windows sidebar, if I can. I'm going to ink the word sidebar. And sure enough, in the Start menu, it is found, Sidebar and Sidebar Properties. I'm going to tap Sidebar, and it should restore my sidebar from the previous time. And sure enough, it has. You'll see I've got my little Vista countdown. I've got my clock, and I've got the RSS reader. Okay, those all work really well. You know what I'm going to do next is show you something else very quickly. We're going to go to the web, because I've got the pen flicks enabled. So I could use my hardware buttons. Can I? Oh, that's right, they don't work. None of the hardware buttons work, my apologies. But the pen flicks should. And they do. And that's flick and go. And flick and go. And flick and go. That's enough exercise for me. You get the point. Vista runs very well on this machine in my experience. I should say it's limited experience, but it certainly has the specifications under the hood to run it. So even, one last thing. Let's take a look at the games, just from a graphics standpoint. Let's go to chess. Chess Titans. Computer kicked my butt in chess earlier today. There it is. Looks pretty nice. Oops. Tap and go. And the computer will go. And then I will go. Really nice. Very nice. Works well. I put Vista Ultimate on here. Unfortunately, don't save. There's no TV tuner. I could add a TV tuner through USB or something. So the media center functionality, not much use out of that right now. But really, it's quite a capable machine, and I think that has to be my final summary. Again, if you've got $2,650, you can get this exact machine with these specifications. Is it worth it? If you're an inker, as I said before, and you rely heavily on ink and not much on keyboard, or you want to purchase a dock and use an external keyboard, this is a fantastic machine. Well worth looking at. Me personally, I am just used to my touchscreen, so I am going to stick with Sammy. We also don't want Sammy upset with me, so I can't say on the air that I'm getting rid of him, because I'm not. The 7-inch screen works fine for me. This is too big for my work habits, quite honestly. Could I get used to it? Sure I could. I can get used to anything, but I'm really happy with what I have. So this is going back, right back to the folks at Allegiance Technology Partners. And I want to thank those folks, especially John Hill. I'm going to meet with John next week and actually return this in person. It'll be a real pleasure to meet with John. And I highly recommend you go to alltp.com and go check out all the tablets that they offer. So I think that is it. And if we get some sunshine, there'll be a few more minutes after I shut off the video now, and I will show you the direct view, because really it's fantastic. So thanks so much for joining me, and I hope your holidays were fantastic. Thanks. And welcome to what's probably going to be the worst possible demonstration of a View Anywhere screen ever. Unfortunately, the sun has not been shining too much here at the old homestead, the home office. Today it's a little sunny, but unfortunately, as you can tell by the shadows on my deck, it's getting late in the day and the sunlight is already past my office. So, what I'm going to do real quick is try to show you what the View Anywhere screen, or how it compares on the Fujitsu ST5112, using the little bit of sunlight that I have, actually compares to a non-View Anywhere screen. I have a little bit of sunlight over here, and you're seeing a lot of glare, I'm sure, but I think you can also see that the screen is still readable and usable. Maybe do we have any better sunlight over here? It's pretty much full sunlight. It's about as close as I can get to full sunlight given the little bit that I have. What I'm going to do now is show you the View Anywhere You Can screen of the Samsung Q1, and just glare alone really kills it and washes out the screen. Probably a little hard to detect here because, again, I'm working with a very little bit of sunlight. But as I tilt away from the sun, you can see I get my screen back, tilt towards the direct sunlight, and it's almost all washed out. I apologize again, the conditions are less than ideal. Let me take the ST5112 back to that same exact position we just had for the Samsung. And you can see I'm in direct sunlight, but yet you can still read that screen. Not a great example, but something that I promised I would try and do, and, well, since it's kind of sunny out, I thought I'd give that a shot. And there's the old farm I look at every day outside my home office. Not that you care, but did the best I could. Thanks so much for joining us.